All right. Peace and blessings, soul family. Listen, I say this every time. I say it every time, and I mean it every single time. We have a special guest today. I'm sure you probably saw the thumbnail if you're tuning in. I love these opportunities to have conversations with family and friends and folks that I have met along this journey because it gives me a chance to expand my awareness. It gives you a chance to tap in and tune into people who have found different ways, more expansive ways of living. And so it is an absolute honor today to have a conversation. I don't call her a friend. I don't call her a colleague. I call her my soul sister. I've only known her for a few years, but I can tell you right here, right now, I've known her before time and space began. She is an absolute exceptional being. For those of you who are tapped in on the LinkedIn platform, you probably know her because you worked with her. She's an absolute, just an exceptional leader. To give you some background in case you're not familiar with her, our guest today is none other than Ms. Veronica Carrera. She has a BA in French from BYU. She's got an MBA from Cornell University. She finished her inner MBA studying with Jay Shetty. Not to mention, she is the founder of, yes, that's right, Ater Tumti, Costa Rica, which is a holistic retreat. In addition to, make sure I say this right, Arsayian
That's
Transform,
right.
which is, yes, which is a consulting organization. It's a spiritual and personal development consulting organization. I can go on and on, but you also got to check her out here in this book. This book here is an absolute game changer. It's 140 miles of life, a remarkable journey to self acceptance and love. I can tell you this book here, it is worth it's worth a lifetime of experiences. But before we jump into it, give it up, give some love to my sister, Veronica Carrera. Veronica, what's happening with you?
My goodness, you introduced me the same way I would have introduced you. You are my soul family. You are my soul brother, and I love you. And I am so excited to be here with you.
It is absolute joy. We were just talking. So we talk every week, ironically, right? So we
We
talk
do.
every week, and we've talked every week for the last 2 years. But this is our very first time having a conversation where we're going to really dive into her transition from a corporate leader into spiritual entrepreneurship, starting Ater Tumti and all her other endeavors. So this is a really cool conversation because it's the first time we've had it, and we're having it live, right? So
That's
it's
right.
yes, it's awesome. It's awesome to do.
And
So
it's the first time that I talk about this because I have been in the middle of this powerful transition and I haven't stopped to reflect and even share how I've been
mm,
feeling throughout all of it. So you are the first person that I talked about this, and there cannot be a better person to talk about
ah,
these things with.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me to create this space for us to have this conversation. So let's jump in. Let's jump in. One of the books that this book here, 140 miles for me. I remember when we first met. We met in Costa Rica. We were at Rhythmia Life Advancement Center. When I saw you there, Veronica, you have this vibration about you where, and my wife can attest to this. When people see you, they feel like they've known you forever, right? You have this universal just vibe of just of love and total acceptance of people. That's the vibe that I got when I saw you. And so after coming back from Costa Rica and everybody's still communicating about our experience, you're like, guys, my book's coming out. We are like, your book? You're wait, time out. We're just trying to process a week's worth of ayahuasca, and you got a whole book, right? And so I read this book, and I was like, okay, I got to find out what inspired her, what motivated you to open up and to share your life in such a vulnerable and a beautiful way where we can all see ourselves in your personal story of transformation. Give us that. What inspired you to open up and to share and to really put pen to paper about your journey in your life?
Yes, you know that when we went through that powerful transformation in Costa Rica, and really it was a journey to our inner world and processing aspects of our lives that may have been holding us back. and experiencing the beautiful healing in the presence of shamans and beautiful people like you. But I started writing the book before that, and it I started writing the moment my grandma died, and it was probably about 6 7 months before I went on this trip. And the reason why this is significant is because my grandma raised me after my mom died, and it was a big loss for me. I had such a hard time because when my mom died, I was 9 years old, and I wasn't able to process that as a child. I don't think I ever cried, and in those times, I don't think my family members did not ask me how do you feel or anything like that. So I grew up and became an adult who did not process her trauma. And when my grandma died, I felt this deep loss. It was almost experiencing two losses: the loss of my mom and the loss of my grandma. And I felt like a little child all over again. The way I wept for her loss, it took me months to process. I isolated myself from friends,
Mhm.
and I knew I needed help because it almost felt like it opened a gate of unprocessed pain in my
Mhm.
life. And I had started to write, and I wasn't sure where I was heading with the writing. All I knew is there was a central part of the story because I grew up as a Mormon and then I came out as gay, as people will call it. And that there was a lot to unpack there. And I thought that particular story could help a lot of people.
Mhm.
It's almost processing religious trauma.
Yeah.
But what I didn't realize until I went to Costa Rica and had this amazing experience with you is that there was so much more
Mm.
to address in this book. So I could call it like what I wrote before our plant medicine ceremony and after, because I wrote it with a different consciousness. What
Mhm.
came after we had this beautiful experience is I started to write with this sense of forgiveness for all and the
Ah.
sense of healing. And that is what I wanted to share with the world. That no matter what we have gone through, there is a way to heal, there is a way to transcend any pain, any limitations, and forgive it all.
Mm. Forgive it all. Forgive it all. You know, when you go through this book, when you read this book, and I'm gonna encourage everybody to grab a copy of this book because the way when I first read it, I read it and it almost seemed it to me, it reminded me like James McBride, right? I'm a big reader. I love James McBride as an author. He does a fantastic job in terms of developing these characters where they have such depth and nuance to their experiences. And I was reading it as if it was a, a fiction book because there was so much that was happening. We start out when we're in Ecuador and Guayaquil, right? And then you go
Oh
to
my goodness, yes.
Chile, and then you're in Miami, you're in Utah, all these different places. And but all of these experiences that we're able to relate to at a very just a very soul level, right? You talked about it before, the loss of your mother, the loss of your grandmother, we talk about, being black, being gay, all these different aspects of life, these touch points. It reminds me, it's a universal experience. It's a universal experience that we can all connect to. But you said the words where you move to a space of forgiveness, forgiving it all, forgiving all the traumas and the different situations that you experienced throughout, and harvest the good of them. Harvest the good of them and forgive everything else. To me, this book is just a perfect blueprint of how to go within
Mm,
and to live a life of forgiveness and succeed or
mm,
triumph. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful book. But when I look at you, I can see,
mhm.
I can see you're the living embodiment of it, the embodiment of it. So thank you for sharing that, the level of vulnerability. How was it? You have this book out, and you're a global sales leader at LinkedIn. Your life is in front of the world. How was that process for you, like navigating it? What did that feel like?
Hmm. You're my favorite person to talk to, by the way. So thank you. Thank you for the thoughtfulness with which you ask your questions. Um, First, I do have to say that when I told you that it gave me this sense of forgiveness for all, and I wanted to share that gift with the world because it was a key to freedom, a key to that
Mm,
personal freedom, so that we're now free to create our best lives. Um, and I had this sense of purpose that was so much bigger than anything else around me. I mean, I love working for LinkedIn. I had I have worked with phenomenal people, like leaders and the people that I led. And of course, my job mattered. So when the book was about to come out, I had a moment of concern, if I call it panic. Like I remember I was during the pandemic because almost right when at the end of the pandemic is when the book was coming out. I spent the pandemic with my family in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I was there for about a year and a half, and it was my first time coming back to New Jersey, where I lived for many years, New York, New Jersey, and and basically come back to the office at
mhm.
some point. I did not expect the book to be picked up this quickly.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's my first book. Um, I had thoughts, I hear much better writers. They're Americans. They have such a good hold of the language, and me, I was doing the best I could with the situation, with what I wanted to put out there, and but as I was writing it, I drew upon my background with French literature
Mm,
and instill some of that style in my
yeah.
writing. So I gave it all I had. But when I came back to New Jersey and ready to face the world, and I had just been promoted to be a sales director in the global client program, I had a moment that I said, "Oh my goodness, what are they going to think about
Mm,
me? What what am I doing? I mean, the whole world is going to be able to see all my shadows and my light and everything, everything. Here am I, because I knew I was very honest with the story.
Thanks. Absolutely.
I told as much as I could so that the writing or the story could become a gift to many people who read it, because as you said, it talks about religious trauma. It talks about being ostracized for being gay. It talks about racism. It talks about being a Latino girl who
Mhm.
grew up motherless and thriving in corporate America later on in her life. So many different themes. And but at that second of panic, I almost forgot. I said, "Oh my gosh, what have I done?" and and it was good. I feel like everything is welcome. Every emotion is welcome, because what that did is that it made me sit down with all of it. And I remember sitting down by myself in my apartment in Weehawken, New Jersey. And at that moment of a little bit of anxiety, I had a really good friend of mine, Usman Jobi.
Mm,
He used to work also for LinkedIn. He used to work with me. Wonderful human being. I'm not sure he's listening right now. And and he called me. I had given him a free copy to read. Right at that moment when I was having that little bit of a panic, he called me and told me, because he also calls me his sister. Sister, I just wanted to tell you that I read this book in 2 days,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it totally changed something in me. It totally transformed my heart with my own struggles that I've been dealing with. And thank you for writing this book.
Mhm.
It was
Mhm.
he I don't know, I think I may have told him you were a gift to me in that moment. But
Mm.
he was a gift. It was just a reminder. And and I sat with myself in meditation to just say to myself, why am I doing this? You have to reconnect with the reason, the why, reconnect with the why. And
Yes.
therefore, nothing else mattered. I was now very grounded in my purpose.
Mhm. Mhm. I completely agree with him. I completely agree with him. The book, when I read it, and once again, we're coming out of ayahuasca, ceremonies, and you're open, and you're processing and integrating. And one of the things that stuck with me was the courage, the acceptance, right? The acceptance, the self love. And when you released the book, I actually was online. I was on the LinkedIn. I guess you released it with your LinkedIn coworkers, and the amount of love and support that they showed for me was so beautiful. Where you have these fears maybe that get you thinking, "Oh my goodness, what am I doing? Maybe I should pull back. Maybe." But when you have the courage to move forward, on the other side of it, all you found was love and support. And it was so much outpouring online. I was like, "Oh, this is beautiful," and it gave me the strength. It gave me the strength and the courage to continue to move forward along my journey. So thank you for saying yes, because your yes and empowered my yes to move forward in my journey. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Andre. I wanted to also add that um, it's almost like if it had taken me a few years to learn to take off my masks,
Mm,
take off any mask that I could have been wearing. And sometimes we all do it, and we have to at times because we do have a brand to protect, and obviously we are professionals. But I realized that behind that mask, there was even a more beautiful human being.
mm,
Therefore, I had no reasons to be afraid. Because if I am sharing about the journey to self love and self acceptance,
yeah.
that means that the real me that I was going to show to the world was more than good enough.
Yeah. Yeah. That reminds me. So one of the teachings in the Course of Miracles, that which is real cannot be. Wow.
Threatened.
Cannot be threatened. And so when you talk about taking off the mask, the authentic aspect of you, the real aspect of you emerges. There's a beauty in all of that. I remember, so we'll go back. So this is, I'm excited about this conversation because, like I said, this is the first time we were ever having this. So a few months ago where we did a live stream with the Course in Miracles.
Yes.
So it was me, you, and Angelica, your wife, right? And we did our very first episode. And so it went well. It's cool. Listen, we've been doing a Course in Miracles every Friday for the last 2 years, right? And so we said, hey, you know what? It's time. It's time to open this up. Let's go live. And so we go live. And for me, I was like, wait a minute, because I'm still in that transition, that's transformation, right? I'm in the process of I left corporate America, started my own business, still open to opportunities in that setting, right? But I'm still moving through this transformation. And so we go online and we do a Course in Miracles and we're talking about inner peace. And so, but all of a sudden I start getting a little panicky, right? Because it's the idea of I'm showing an aspect of myself that I have always hid from my professional setting, right? From my professional persona, if you will. And to do that online to me was a bit scary. And all the while I was in the process of having a conversation about an opportunity. Long story short, the opportunity did not work out, but I was reminded of a joke where it's a chicken and the pig. It's a joke where it's a chicken and the pig, and the chicken and the pig are walking down the street. And the chicken tells the pig, "Hey, pig, we finally made it. Look, our names are in lights, bacon and eggs for breakfast." I was, and the pig was like, "Wait, for you, that's just a little commitment. For me, that's total sacrifice." And I felt like I was totally sacrificing an identity that I was holding on to. But in all actuality, in all honesty, it needed to be let go of. So who I truly am in holistic view can emerge, and I can bring my whole self to this part of my life. So I thank you, and I thank Angelica for that space, because I needed to step out of that discomfort of being myself and take off that mask. So that was my sister. I appreciate you for that.
Oh, thank you, my brother. And also, I think it's important for me to remind myself and everyone else that it wasn't until I dedicated myself to my own inner journey, my own healing, my own self empowerment, that I became a much better leader.
Mm,
I Once I went through that transformational experience, I felt like I led with so much more love,
Okay.
with so much more compassion, with so much more purpose. And I can attest to you that every day that I will show up to work, most of the times virtually, I will be on a call with one of the people in my team. And I would sometimes meditate before these calls.
Mhm.
And I will think about this person. What is this person going through? I can name some of the people on my team. What is Morgan going through? What is Rachel going through? What is Nick going through? What is Lindsay? What is Kim, Nick, Jared, Dan? What are they going through? And I will reflect on it, meditate. And at times it wasn't even about meditating, but it was about being present.
Mm-hmm.
And leading stopped being about me.
Yeah.
It really became more about the others. And that's how I was able to empower them to be a lot more successful, because I fully gave myself to their own transformation, professionally and personally. Therefore, there's nothing to be ashamed of when we give ourselves to this spiritual transformation, to this spiritual expansion, because that aspect of ourselves, that essence that we bring, that true infinite essence that we bring to any space, particularly to the professional space, is what truly makes a difference. And it
Mm.
transforms teams, and it can transform organizations overall.
So that's powerful. That's powerful because to go back, we partition that aspect of our life off, right? Out of fear sometimes.
Yeah.
So what would you say, or how would you recommend someone to begin to open up a little bit more, or maybe say perhaps I can, show this side of me, be more authentic to who I am in a setting where at times people may feel a little bit, reluctant and reserved to show, their spirituality. What would you recommend, or what does that look like?
Well, I was very lucky to work for a company who believed in bringing all of yourself to work.
Mhm.
That was LinkedIn for me and for many others. At the same time, I believe that bringing yourself to work doesn't mean you just display everything about your life all at once, right?
Correct.
I feel that you have to work mindfully, and I keep on using that word, be mindful of every space that you're in. What what works for the company? This is
Mhm.
something that I had to ask myself. I had a conversation with the communications team at LinkedIn. I remember when they asked me to go on a call so we can talk about the book, and I had just been promoted. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to be fired because of what's in the book. And I was on that call with someone from the communications team. I'm not sure if it was one or two people. And and all I did is I just told my story. And I had to say it without fear.
Mhm.
Fearless.
Correct.
Doesn't mean you don't fear, but you fear less. So fearless, because I was so anchored in my purpose. And I told them, I said, listen, if this part of the story, particularly the plant medicine experience,
Mhm.
is not something that aligns to the company, please let me know. It's okay. I'm very respectful of the company's image and the brand. And I was willing to let go,
Mhm.
because I knew that my purpose was so much bigger than anything else. Luckily, LinkedIn understood and respected and supported my story. And
Mhm.
then they became, a good platform for me to share what was appropriate for the platform, for my
Right.
team, for the company. And you have to practice discernment at
Right.
every moment. What aspects of yourself, of your true self, um, are okay to bring in any particular space?
Correct. Correct. And so, did that give birth to 30 minutes of wisdom on LinkedIn?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, I came out with 30 minutes of wisdom during the pandemic. I felt that
Mhm.
there was so much people were going through and not processing. And as you know, because you started your podcast, it takes a lot of courage to start a podcast when um, although I had done public speaking, it's a totally different game to be online and going live and things that can go wrong. And at times I got nervous and I'll trip up on some of my words in English. And I remember one time I completely went blank, and all of it happens, but I did it, and it goes back to the same thing that I told you at the beginning. I went back to my purpose. Why did I want to start 30 minutes of wisdom?
Mm-hmm.
It was because I knew we were going through unprecedented times.
Yeah,
And I knew that my voice mattered,
that's
that
right.
I had gone through some profound transformation. And I wanted to create a space of 30 minutes where people could share wisdom. And that could be a voice of support and light to many people during these times.
Mm. How beautiful. How beautiful. Our sister, natural ally D, Danny, thank you for the comment. She said that was a blessing to work in a work culture that you could be you mindfully, like you said. And how beautiful for, the people that you work with, that, you're a mindful leader during a time that was very stressful for everyone. And so you're saying, how can I serve? How can I
How can
serve?
I serve? That's it, brother. And I know that you live the same way. How can I serve? And I think when we live that way, um, you live with a sense of power and freedom.
Mm,
And then you understand that no matter what happens,
hmm.
what's going on in your life, you become an observer of that reality, and you know that you are working for something so much higher than yourself to serve humanity.
Mm, that's it. That's it. Greater. It's
Why do
bigger
you
than.
do this podcast? Why do you do this podcast, Andrew? Because you are a phenomenal human being. I mean, when you remind me of our time that we met at Rhythmia in Costa Rica, and we had this profound experience, I also remember you. It's your presence. You are just a magnificent human being. And the experience that we have had together in this last couple of years, facilitating classes together on A Course in Miracles, facilitating discussions, is all led by this sense of of purpose that you have.
Yeah.
How? I mean, tell me a little bit more about you, because I want people to also
Yeah.
listen to you.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that. It's been service. It's been service for me. It's realizing that there's a more expansive way, a more purposeful way that I've been placed here. There's things that I'm sent here to do. Right. So for me, I discovered my gift in the last couple of years, gift of prayer, gift of being able to see people in their true and divine essence. And so when that gift is discovered and you're able to witness and evidence a miracle taking place in someone's life, and then you also realize that you're around other beings who have tapped into that field, tapped into that understanding of their true nature. I was like, oh, this got to be shared. It has to be shared. This is not meant to just hold to myself. It's meant to be of a service and a presence to people. So I started Akashic Living, understanding that there's a higher way, a more expansive way of showing up. And that's why I started this platform. I want to talk to people who have tapped in to more an expansive and aligned way of living this life. And this conversation with you is the perfect, just perfect example of that. Continue to grow and evolve all along serving something that's much bigger than ourselves, much bigger than
And you
ourselves.
are such a gift. You are such a gift, Andre. Every time I think of you, I think of someone whose voice needs to be heard all over the world. And I truly mean it. Um, Thank you for what you're doing, because I have gotten to know you more so than during these last 2 years. And the way your power and in the word, in your words, the way that it resonates with people is just magnificent.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I say we are mirrors of one another. The presence, the presence, the presence. When I saw you in Costa Rica, it was almost as if Spirit told me to put kind of like a bookmark there, a placeholder there, because I knew there was more work to be done. And we didn't even really talk that much. I believe what when we first started talking was there was one of the people, I think it was Melanie, she had gotten sick, one of the people that was at the retreat,
Oh, yes,
and she
yes.
was in ICU, and you got everybody together and we prayed. And I believe she was sick maybe on a Friday. We prayed, I believe it was on sometime over the course of the weekend. And she went
That's
from
right.
ICU to being released from the hospital in a matter of days. And I was like,
Days.
oh,
Yes.
yeah, that part.
Mhm.
That part, right? So I
Yeah.
knew from that moment going forward, I said, yeah, there's something special that we need to continue to connect and build. So that is awesome. That is awesome. Talk about where you are now. We can hear it in the background, the hammers and the nails, and you're like,
Oh,
this is
you
the
can
this
hear
is the
all of
building.
that. This is like, oh my goodness. I was trying to make sure you don't hear any of that. So I am staying in an Airbnb that is just noisy because of the construction right next to it. But everything is welcome right now in this podcast. Uh,
Absolutely.
so I in Costa Rica. I left corporate America about what is it? Mid January. So right now we're in April, about a couple of months ago or so, a little bit over a couple of months, and it has been quite a journey. Why did I leave? Because after having two successful years in my last organization, the Global Client Program, where I led a very successful team. I was so privileged to work with them. I was simultaneously building or planting the seeds of this holistic resort in Costa Rica because I also wanted to create a space. The same thing that happened for me of that profound healing and transformation, I I wanted to provide that for others.
Hmm.
I don't I cannot say that I had that picture of exactly that it came from me, what this needed to look like. It really came to me. It really came to me that I needed to do that. And I worked at LinkedIn for the last 2 years doing my job and giving my full self to that job. And on nights having calls, weekends having calls, and it never felt like work. It never did. To put together a team of developers and accountants and lawyers and architects, all of it. And so I was leading two teams, my team, my global sales team during the day, and then at night or on the weekends meet with a team to start building the infrastructure for a whole mountain in Costa Rica
Mm,
so that we can build this holistic resort. 2 years later, I felt um, that this was the time to step forward with courage.
yeah.
But that doesn't mean that there were not moments of panic. But yes, I felt the calling to say, yes, you love what you do. Yes, you love the people you work with. But now you are being called in a different way.
Hmm. Hmm. You talked about success. Talked about success. What does success look like now versus, when you were, global sales leader and then, working in corporate? How do you has your definition of success changed, or what does that look like for you?
Success. Success, my brother. Um, that word even, I would say, even changed while I was working as a sales leader at LinkedIn.
Hmm.
Of course, I wanted my team to be successful in their sales targets. Of course, I wanted to make sure the organization was successful and LinkedIn was successful. But success for me has always been about the people.
Yeah.
And it became so much more about them, about their happiness, not just professionally, but also personally.
Hmm.
And there is a word that people don't use very much in corporate America, but the love that you do things with as a leader.
Mm.
And what does success look like then, as opposed to the way it looks like now, is that now I am doing something completely new. I mean, who steps out of leading? I mean, I studied business and I was in the financial markets for a long time. I used to work for Bloomberg and then Gartner in the tech research company, and then LinkedIn. Um, And then suddenly I started becoming an international developer. How does that happen? But it's not because I wanted to be an international developer. It was because I had a vision.
Mhm.
I had a vision that would come to me exactly what this place would look like, who would go there, and the purpose of it. That the same healing and profound transformation that I experienced, I wanted to provide that space for many others, and also particularly leaders, so that they can lead more consciously and
Mhm.
empower organizations to be successful, but in a different way, in a more mindful and conscious way.
See, that's beautiful because you said something earlier. You talked about being able to show up and be your full self at work, right? The beauty of having the support of a leader who's there to serve and to recognize and see that you're bringing your full self to work is a just a it's a higher level of experience. It's a different experience for most people. I specifically remember where we did a prayer for one of your teammates,
Mhm.
and it just hit me now. I was like, wait a minute, that is not
Mhm.
that's an uncommon situation there. We don't see that every day in leadership, where you understand how the personal aspect, the professional aspect. As a leader, you're serving the entire being. You're serving it. You would take your team on meditation retreats. Like,
Yeah. I don't think they loved the idea the first time. They were like, what is she doing to us? Meditation, sound healing, all of this. What, they were probably like, what is she doing? But yes, it was probably the most unforgettable experience that they had, by the way.
but you know what? I think overall, when you look at the results, and I know you led a very successful team, you know, to know that the person that you're working with cares about every aspect of your life, showing up to work, doing your absolute best, not just because you want to do a great job, but because you have someone there to support you. That feels different. That feels different. So kudos and salute and love to you, because that highlights the love that you have for people, the love that you have for people.
There's thank you for saying that, Andrew. And there is I believe it was a Harvard article. I just read it in the last few days that
Mhm.
sometimes leaders are pushed, I'm going to say that, or they believe that that's the best way to do it, to constantly look at their teams and focus on what they need to do better,
Mhm.
and coach people on all of their weaknesses or gaps and everything. And for me, it became very clear that I needed to focus on more so on what they did well, on
Yes,
what their superpowers were. And the more what you focus on expands.
that's right.
And I would tell you this because I believe in people's greatness. Every time I'll stand in front of them and I look at their eyes, they became even greater and greater right in front of my eyes.
Natural ally D. Danny says yes. Leading with love makes the difference. Accentuating the positive, seeing the best in everyone, seeing the best in everyone. That allows you to show up. I was listening to a story. It was big. I'm a big basketball fan, and there's a guy. You're not familiar. Mark Jackson used to be a point guard for the Indiana Pacers, and he played alongside of one of the greatest shooters in NBA history, Reggie Miller. And he recalled a time where the coach of the Pacers was criticizing Reggie Miller for just taking this, what he perceived to be a crazy 3-point shot. And he criticized Reggie Miller and he told him, "You never take that shot again." Mind you, Reggie Miller is probably, I think he's number 2 all time in NBA in shooting 3-pointers. And Mark Jackson said he remembered the time because Reggie kind of lost his confidence and he recoiled and he went within and he went like on a shooting slump. And he said, so when Mark Jackson became a coach of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, he remembered that moment. He said he will never discourage them from shooting, because that was their superpower, that was their gift. And so he focused on that
That's
gift.
right.
And as a result, they became the greatest shooting backcourt in NBA history, because he made up his mind that he was only going to focus on what they did very well and give them confidence to do it more freely. And that's what
Give
you.
them confidence. I love that example, Andre. I love it. And also I think it's important to, as a leader, as a coach, um, it's important to realize that although I may think I know better, and because of my personality, sometimes I think I know better. And so and my whatever, we may think we have more experience and I know better. And it might very well be that we know better in some instances.
Mhm.
But I guarantee you that if you stay open,
Mhm.
everyone around you, even if it seems completely odd, they might be teaching you a new and better way to do things.
Mhm.
And it's about holding space
Mhm.
for differences, for perceived weaknesses, and be able to accept people for their own greatness and their own genius. And in my role right now as a founder of Arsayian coaching and consulting is really taking people not just from good to better, but from the zone of excellence to their zone of genius. And you
Mhm.
can only do that if you don't think you are the one who has all the answers, but you are here to hold space to untap that genius that is inside every person.
That's it. That's it. That is exactly it. That reminds me of Reverend Michael Beckwith. He talks about that each being is
Mhm.
loaded and encoded
Ah,
with greatness.
Michael
Loaded and
Beckwith.
encoded.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's in. It's
Loaded and
within.
encoded with greatness.
That's
That's
right.
right.
That's it. Creating the condition for our own unfoldment. You can ask the questions.
Creating the condition. Yes.
Yeah. We create the conditions for it to appear, for it to appear. That's powerful. One of the questions that I had written down for you were practical tips and character traits that you've used, that you've used to attempt to get to this point in your career. What are some of the ways of, from maybe a spiritual perspective, maybe just from a daily, what does the Veronica do that fuels you to achieve your dreams and to maintain the balance in your life? What does that look like?
The Veronica, now in my 50s, but if I look back, even a little child with a mom, I felt like since I was a child, I always like looked at the skies and I used to look at the stars and I used to like dream. And then my mom died and that child forgot to dream. And and then somehow you have to find the strength within yourself um, to realize your potential. And I feel that life or God or this benevolent force in the universe sometimes put people in your path to remind you of who you truly are. And
Hmm.
that's what happened in my life. And I think it's always been for me is doing what others think is impossible.
Mm.
That's the same reason I ended up graduating with honors. That's the same reason, I ended up doing an Ironman. I remember I didn't even know how to swim. And I was a great runner, but people say, "Are you crazy? You don't know how to swim." And then you just sign up for the Ironman. And a year and a half later, or a year later, I was swimming in the Hudson River for 2.5 miles and running and cycling for 140 miles and doing a full marathon afterwards.
Hmm.
Because it takes a big dream
Yeah.
to accomplish anything. And you can shoot for the stars, but if you don't get there, believe me, you'll land somewhere really close to it. And even being here right now, after having had the privilege of working at LinkedIn and in one of the most wonderful organizations in the company as a director, sales director, and that was a big dream, but stepping into this dream
Yeah.
was so scary. Letting go of everything is basically saying, I'm willing to die. Every aspect of me that I knew of my whole life what felt safe, what felt like the safety foundation that I have needed to survive, especially someone like me who grew up without a mom and a dad. I always needed to have a foundation. Otherwise, I die. So now in my early 50s, I made a decision pulled by my purpose to let everything go, to let the safety of corporate America be taken out of, taking this foundation off, and being willing to die, being willing to die. All aspects of me die so that I can see the unfoldment of this new being that is supposed to serve in such a different way.
Powerful. That's the caterpillar metamorphosis in the human experience, right? Being willing to dissolve your previous identity. You actively, consciously participating in the dissolution of a previous identity. Consciously doing that.
Consciously doing it.
Consciously doing it.
And I remember I was in a podcast, I was invited, and the question was, who are you? Who are you? Who are you without your titles, without your money, without the safety of always having a paycheck coming in? Who are you without, I used to have a Porsche. Who am I without my Porsche? Who am I without this beautiful home I had in New Jersey? Who am I without any of this? Who am I without any of that? And everything that I've done with the great education that I received, who am I?
Powerful. Powerful. That's the beginning. That's the beginning point. So one of the soul questions that we ask is, who am I? There's 4 of them. Who am I? What do I want? What is my purpose? And what am I grateful for? And what am I grateful for? And I believe the answer to those questions leads you on that journey, that soul-led journey, that alignment that we talked about with your purpose, your passion, the place where you are, where we hear the hammers and the nails in the background, where we're creating this. You're creating a place, a space.
I'm creating something. I'm creating something. And then, I can put it on your podcast, the website. But, I don't want to be ashamed or by any means by telling people that my purpose is really to serve Creator, to serve our infinite Creator. That's it. With all that I have. And I can do that by serving humanity.
That's right.
And it doesn't mean that I'm by any means perfect. I'm going through the same transformation than everybody else. But with my perfect imperfection, I say to life and to this infinite Creator, yes. It's a sacred yes, and I'm willing to give all of me, all of that I have, and all of that I am, to do this.
That's right. Saying yes. Saying yes. I put your website up here as well so people can see it. Go to Ater Tumti, Costa Rica. Let's talk about it. Ater Tumti. Meaning. What's the meaning? What inspired it? And give us some background about the holistic retreat. What can folks expect? God bless you.
Well, thank you. So Ater Tumti means in Atlantean language, ancient language, bringing heaven to earth. And it's really helping people transform their lives and come back to their divine nature. And how do we do this? How do we give ourselves to this mission? Really, in many different ways. It can very well be being a great dad, being a great leader, wherever you are. The purpose is not for everyone to do what I'm doing. It's exactly where you're at. You are being called to serve, and you are being called to help people get to their next level of consciousness and their transformation. But for me, with Ater Tumti, we're creating a space for awakening, healing, and connection to Mother Earth and ancient spiritual wisdom. How do we do that? We're going to create this mindful space where people can come. We have a whole mountain, 22 hectares, all nature, surrounded by nature. We're creating this maloka, or what some people don't know what a maloka is, but it's this yoga space on top with this breathtaking views of mountains and from far away the ocean, and meditate, experience sound healing, experience hiking, connecting to nature, eating from the earth, nurturing your body, and many, many, many things. And we are going to be doing here with spiritual masters and teachers like you, Andre.
Fantastic. Folks, I've seen it, seen the pictures of it, right? And I witnessed the development along the way, and the amount of work and love and intention that she's invested into this project is unbelievable, and it's such a blessing to witness something that started with an idea and she acted on it, and now we're actually beholding the physical manifestation of it is incredible, and I can't wait to get there, put my feet in the dirt, put my feet in the dirt, and just be a part of it, because it's so beautiful. It is so beautiful. And talk about the consulting business as well. Arsayian Transform. That's the consulting aspect of Ater Tumti.
Well, it has two different parts of it. There is coaching, integration coaching, which is more the spiritual mindfulness coaching that is going to be serving Ater Tumti in Costa Rica. And there is also the business coaching and consulting, which is something that I do with companies in the US, individuals or companies in the US. So because I have two parts of me, and they're all perfectly, aligned, and they come together to serve corporate America, to serve the world, to serve individuals anywhere in the world. And there's this other part of me, the coaching and the spaces that we're creating in Costa Rica. So as a matter of fact, I will be leaving, I would say half of the year, maybe a little bit more here in Costa Rica, in about 4 months or so in the US. So that's how my partner and I will be living our lives.
That's fantastic. That is dope. Folks, check it out.
Mhm.
Ater Tumti, Costa Rica.com is where you can get the information. Got 140 miles of life. It is her wonderful book. I
Thank you.
highly, I highly recommend you grab a
Oh,
copy
thank
of
you,
this book.
Andre.
It's that good. I mean, the writing alone is fantastic, but when you couple it with just a profound story of personal development, of self-love and acceptance, I mean, it's exceptional. I say that with my whole heart, and I love to read. The book is exceptional.
Thank you, Andre. It was my first book, so I am grateful that it was picked up that quick. I totally forgot to tell you that I thought it would probably take forever, and it was picked up a month after I finished writing it. So it was crazy. They gave me 2 weeks to edit it, and so it is what it is. And I accepted it, and I it was a labor of love. And now it's been translated in Portuguese, and I'll be going to Portugal for a book fair. It's one of the biggest book fairs in Europe, so that I'm going to be speaking about this book there in English and Portuguese. So we'll see how it goes.
It's going to be fantastic. They're going to love it. It's great. It's a great read. I'm super excited for anybody that grabs a copy of it. One of the segments that we have here is the top five. The top five books that have inspired you, that have motivated you, that have shifted you. I know your book is up there for me. I'll say that for sure. What would you say are five five books?
Five. Of course, A Course in Miracles. That's the one that we read every Friday. A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin.
Oh yeah.
Um, um, Un Silon Lettre, which is a French book. It's a French literature book by Mariam Abba,
Mm.
about the experience of the second list people. Um, the Kite Runner. I mean, there are so many different books that I read. I think I just have to think about. But I think I told you five.
Yeah, you did. You did. Beautiful, beautiful selection too.
Oh,
Beautiful
the
selection.
New Earth, the New Earth, and the Power
Oh,
of Now,
now
and all
okay.
of
Yeah,
that.
cartel.
Yes, I
Yeah.
love it. Now we continue. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Danny, thank you so much for tapping in. I appreciate you, my sister. Have an awesome day. We appreciate your support and your comments as well. And the last but not least, Veronica, the top 5 songs. I've seen you dance. I know you got a mean salsa, bachata, and merengue and all that.
Oh my
Give me your
gosh,
top five.
5 songs.
Give me five.
Well, I'm
Give
just
five
gonna
songs
give
of
you.
5 artists.
I'm just gonna give you the Miley Cyrus "Flower."
Okay.
I love Miley
Okay.
Cyrus.
I was not expecting that.
You
Okay,
know
here we
what?
go.
You are not expect. Actually, love house music even
Go
more
ahead,
so
man.
than salsa. But yes, house music.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to think about 5 songs right now, but I love Adele, Miley Cyrus. Who else? Obviously, Whitney Houston. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
What are
Okay.
your 5 songs? Tell me. What are your 5 songs?
Ooh,
I'm good
I
at
can't,
turning this.
I struggle with giving 5 songs, but I will say that
Okay.
5 artists, I would go 5 artists. One would be Gladys Knight.
Ooh,
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
old
with
school
that
soul
one.
music. Yeah, I love Miss Gladys. I also love Jill Scott. Also a Gregory
Oh,
Porter
nice.
fan. Yeah.
Ooh, you're more
Um,
fancy than me. You know, your answers are more fancy.
now you know what it is. It's just a
I
vibe.
need
It's
Miley Cyrus.
No, listen, Molly can sing too. Like she can absolutely sing, so she got vibe. That would be
Yeah,
3. The other ones is hard. It's all interchangeable. Of course,
it's
hip
hard. It's
hop.
hard.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it is. Hard to put it into 5. But my sister, listen, this has been a beautiful conversation. I love you dearly. I appreciate the opportunity to chop it up with you, and to just get your wisdom and your perspective and just tap in and learn from you. You've reached a place where many of us we aspire to really live with the courage, live with the freedom, live with the love and the acceptance that you have. So thank you for being a way shower. Thank you for
Oh, thank
serving
you.
and just being the powerful, beautiful being you are. I want to give you your flowers and let you know
Oh
you're
my
doing a fantastic
God.
job. Fantastic
Oh,
job.
I'm just a mirror of you. Thank you for being a person of just pure light, Andre. I love you too. Thank you for everyone who's listening, and I have to say that I encourage everyone to follow your podcast, and thank you for every way that you have supported me, and in every sense of the word. So thank you, brother.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And my man Zoe reached out, my
Mhm.
good Ethiopian brother. He made me remember Luther Vandross, Bob Marley, Lauren Hill,
Oh
Cass.
my
I'm
gosh!
forgetting. We get up on this microphone and forget the
Yeah,
legends. How dare we? Zoe, thank you so much, my brother. I appreciate you.
thank you.
So, family, thank you so much. I appreciate you. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. If you're
Thank
on
you.
LinkedIn, hit the connect button. I want to connect. I want to build community with you and continue to bring more beautiful beings of light to this conversation so we can
Mm,
grow, expand, and love. So, thank you so much, Veronica. I'll catch you later, my sister. Love you.
thank you.
Take
All
care now,
right,
y'all.
ciao.
All right, ciao, ciao.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.